Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello everybody.
Watcher.
It's another show.
We're back again.
More games have been played.
I've played loads this time. I'm pumped. I've got like 4 things to talk about. So that should be good.
I've got one thing to talk
You've got
about.
one
We
thing
just
to talk
finished
about.
playing it.
It's good. It's quite an uneven show. It's a me show. Shall I start then? Because apparently you've got only one thing and you'll need to save that. Ration it out carefully.
Yeah.
All right,
And there's a lot of ranting about it.
jump in when you want to talk about your one thing.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with Elite Dangerous.
Huzzah!
Yeah, we're still playing that. This is the static group there under the tutelage of Zaranil and Commander Embryo, our two esteemed leaders who know a lot about the game and play quite a lot of extracurricular, not just when we're out. I think this weekend they were out doing some big, massive player event, dev event thing,
there was a big
chasing
event this
some
weekend.
woman called Salome or something like that. And something I don't know. I know nothing about it. I'm bluffing.
Did she want to be chased? Because
I don't know. She's some sort of assassin or freedom fighter or something. I seem to have just bounced off the backstory and the lore for Elite Dangerous. There's a lot of it going on. If you are into that stuff and like the game that much, you can really get involved. The Galnet news stuff's updating all the time, and there's quite clearly, Frontier developments have got some kind of massive ongoing meta story, sort of, JMS Babylon 5 style going on that's going to spin out for ages, involving Thargoids and big interfactional politics and secessions and the Empire and the Federation and stuff. And I just don't... Can
I just shoot stuff and do a bit of trading?
Exactly it.
Mine a bit.
This is it. I just want to go in there and blow up some pirates, and that's about my engagement, to be honest, which is a shame. I'm not talking down what Frontier are doing with it all at all.
A lot of people really like it.
Yeah, it's very popular and people are really getting into it. And there was a big thing this weekend. You'll probably see some news about that on the various game sites. I think if you're really into that side of things, go look for the Elite Dangerous Reddit. They tend to have their eyes on the stuff.
There's the main one, and there's one for each of the activities, and there's
a lot of subreddits for different things as well. Yeah. Also, Frontier's own website's got the Galnet news stuff, so you can find all their in-game laws, and they got discussion forums as well. There's that Canon Scientific lot, which is like a massive player guild clan thing, who are really, really, really into the backstory and analysis and stuff. They're the ones that figured out how all these barnacles work. I think they're the ones that found a couple of these generation ships that have been talking about.
Well, apparently they've been in the game for a while and people just hadn't been following up on the messages.
Really?
That's what I sort of heard.
I thought it was a recent feature that they just found straight away.
It might have been a couple of days, but apparently people were posting up, what's this message? Does it mean anything?
Well, apparently there was one found, and we basically saw some news about it and went and decided to go and be tourists. So we didn't do any of the hard... Well, we did actually.
Space tourists?
No, Embryo made us go off to the system where the clues were and try and work out how to find it ourselves. And it was actually a proper treasure hunt. You do have to find some logs and analyse some data and work out a riddle and some clues and stuff. And I sort of flew around zapping stuff while the others worked it all out and then went and found them afterwards. I got it wrong. I went off on some wild tangent with the clue and was halfway to the neighbouring star on sublight speed before I got politely hinted at where I should be going. So,
did you think it was a way more complicated?
I was the weakest link. Yes, I was. We go at the pace of the slowest member, and that slowest member's me. Yeah. But yes, we went there and we found it. It was interesting. I've got some video which is probably running around the back of here or whatever. However, does this? I've never actually watched one of our shows. How does the video work? Is it in a little corner thing?
It's full screen.
Full screen. Oh, great. Okay, so
at least we can do this while we're playing.
I can make rude symbols at the camera. Right. Okay. Yes. So the generation ships are there. They are quite interesting things to see. Massive, great sort of like.
I must remember I just made cylindrical.
Be careful with the editing. Massive cylindrical sort of generation starship, as you'd imagine, with all the cargo boxes all down the side attached and large solar panels and reactor cores and stuff. There are points along the generation ship that you can scan using the data link scanner on your ship, and each of those gives you a little piece of log, and these logs are voiced. Actually read out by someone. It's not massive full cast audio drama.
Anyone famous?
No, not that I know of. No, but it's just a nice touch to have a little bit of extra depth to it all. Makes me quite, interested in finding out more about what's going on. I mean, I'm not going to tell you anything about what happens there. You can go and find them yourselves. I mean, the locations of the ones that have been found are probably public knowledge by now. I don't know if they've all got the same message logs or whether there's different stories on each, but you'll have to go and track them down and find out yourselves. But yeah, it's good. I mean, we're sort of chipping away at the sort of doing different things each week. I think the week before we went off to see Todd the Blaster McQuinn, one of these engineer types. But before you can go and see him, you have to get 10 bounty contracts or 100,000 credits worth of bounty tickets before you can hand them in. So we went out and did a load of that, and then went to visit him. He lets you upgrade multi cannons and some other weapons as well, missiles possibly. So that's useful. Again, once you've got that unlocked, you can just keep going there and you're handing in the materials and
grinding up your Requiem to get better ones.
Yeah, it does form a kind of mid-scale PvE direction in that game, which I think a lot of people, quite fairly suggest that is a game without much purpose.
But it's also all of it's required for the PvP as well. So
I imagine it gives you an edge.
So it's
in
also
fighting.
the PvP.
Yeah. I mean, there's no direct PvP involved unless you're in open. Obviously, what it does create in open play is a number of very known specific places that lots of players are going to be. So, and that's the same with these generation ships as well. Be careful. Do it in solo or private if you're not up for a bit of a fight, because there are people who will in open who go there and just try and gank people who are busy trying to scan the points and stuff. We've heard first-hand encounters of that. So that's the nature of Elite Dangerous, isn't it? If you're going in open play, be prepared for anything. It is full on, EVE Online, EverQuest Ralos style non-consensual PvP. But you can always play it solo, and you can always dip out in and out of solo as well. It's not like, oh no, I have to create a whole nother character. You can just drop in and out depending whenever you like. So no one's really forcing you to be there and be ganked, and it's up to you if you want to try the grander sort of community of it all and the risks that go with it. I've reached rank 3.
Congratulations.
Which is like midshipman or something in the Federation Navy. Oh. Well, rank 4 is the big goal. It's that will let me go and visit Earth, which
come say hi.
You keep doing this. He just like gads around in Earth orbit while we're getting ready and telling us how great it all is. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it though. Go and see the Sol system. I haven't really thought about long-term goals beyond that. We'll see what the game provides. I mean,
have you considered the Imperial systems?
Well, we could try doing something similar for the Imperial systems. I'm not sure they have quite the same cachet though. It's Altair, is it? Or Arracanus or something? There's
Altair is
no, that's
the assassin.
No, that's near where we're. No, that's not it. They've got their own Archinar, maybe. They're a big Imperial hub system, but it's not anything I've heard of or care about, so it's not quite the same. But yes, still playing in there. I'm enjoying that a fair bit. It's a good regular sort of keep it going on the Tuesdays. I like the multi-crew stuff. I don't know if I've talked about that on this show or not before, but that works very well, actually. Specifically the fighters. The turrets is a bit more take or leave it. Yeah. But if you've got a friend with a ship with fighter bays, you can hop on and launch their fighters and fly around. And the fighters are fantastic fun. We tried a bit of close quarters combat as well, the arena mode thing. Yeah, tried briefly a bit.
Lost.
Possibly never going back again. It's not my thing, really. I mean, it reminded me a lot of the Galactic Starfighter bit from the Old Republic.
Okay, yeah.
Which essentially is a kind of... It is essentially, if there's like 8 of you in there on 2 teams of 4 each, and you just fly around blowing each other up. And there's some quite interesting, dense superstructure type star bases around. There's like power-ups you can fly through, and you're all doing it in Eagles and the Sidewinders and the little those F-63 Condor things you see flying around outside stations. Basically, it's all tiny little Starfighter type stuff rather than, a whole bunch of Anacondas going. I'd love to see close quarters combat with Anacondas. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, it's a very fluffy, very throwaway thing. It's got its own little internal ranking system, and you go up in levels and you can unlock access to different loadouts and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, critics of Frontier development would point out that they do this. They introduce a feature, see if it takes any traction, and if no one really bothers with it, they ditch it and they move on.
It got killed as a standalone product not too long ago.
It was supposed to be an Xbox thing, wasn't it?
It was a standalone thing alongside everything, and they killed it because it wasn't very popular.
It's really not popular at all. I mean, I don't know how long the other 2 randoms who were in our match sat there waiting for the queue, but since we all joined, as the 6 of us, we pushed go, and suddenly, hey, match. But I mean, I hear stories that people have to make prior arrangements using message boards and places like Reddit or whatever just to get matches. It always struck me
there was a feature put in there because it's the sort of thing that Star Citizen was doing.
Well, I mean, the basic... I don't know what open PvP is like, but I imagine it's a hugely asymmetric kind of thing. You're either much more powerful than them, or they're much more powerful
It's the Eve problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
You either go out looking for combat,
in
which case you're probably not looking for everyone else, or you're out looking for easy people to kill. Or not waiting to be shot.
And I mean, in Eve, they say, if you're facing a fair fight, one of you's done something wrong. You don't want a fair fight in a long consequence PvP persistent world. You want to have the upper hand through skill and planning, I suppose. But so yeah, that kind of dogfighty pew pew, let's just score some points, first one to 25 wins type situation never arises in normal Elite, I shouldn't think. So having to add that experience as a separate thing is fair enough. It's just I don't think anyone really comes to Elite Dangerous for that, because
I don't know.
From all counts the queues don't pop at all.
Yeah, it does feel like something. It's a yes, we have this too feature.
I'm glad I tried it. It's an interesting spectacle. I don't know if I got any video or not for that, but it's. I think I might have done. Check. Yeah. See what we got there on the disc I gave you. But
I like the live updates. As I'm listening to this while editing, I will actually get
it's
the information at the right time. That's very good.
I tell you after the show and you forget. But I'm glad I tried it. But that basic format of like battleground arena PvP is just not my thing at all, really, in any form. So I doubt I'll be back.
When it is. E-Valkyrie works for me in that way.
But I remember I watched you play a bit of that.
But E-Valkyrie was so shallow, I felt like I'd experienced everything I wanted to experience within a couple of hours.
Very much like E-Valkyrie, but without the VR. Well, presumably you do have the VR if you've got the headset. But you should give it a go, I think. Just log in around 5 minutes, if you can get a match to populate, that is. But yeah, I don't know. It's I can understand why they probably just not really going to do much else with it and won't come back to it. They'll go and develop more on multi-crew or more on SRVs or whatever. More engineers stuff, depends. I mean, because they've got the metrics, they know what the players are doing with their game. They'll be able to tell which areas will get the best cost benefit with more development and investment. And
obviously it's not that.
I don't think CQC is it, no, which is a shame. Still, there you go. I think there's probably other better places to find that kind of experience. So you haven't got anything to talk about?
No,
are you going to play your talk about thing, Carl?
No, I was going to play it in the middle.
All right, okay. I'm going to talk about space engineers, because I'm in this play all the space things thing at the moment and sort of casting around between games.
By half.
No, straight into space engineers. I picked up my old save game. I'd crashed on a planet and managed to build a base, and I had a little buggy I was driving around in my little flying bedstead cargo recon thing.
Did any of those bits of gear work?
The mining buggy thing worked. It was good enough at drilling the boulders that are on the surface in the planets, but then you can do those by hand quite quickly as well, so I don't really use that a lot. And it was really bad at staying on the ground as well, so bad that I had to cheat with the steering linkages and put just a load of gyros on it. So you put gyros on a ground vehicle, it means that you can just wheelie up onto the front end and then steer it while it's like off the ground, and then come down to the direction you're after. The wheels, just using wheels as wheels is pretty ropey. I mean, I haven't tried them since in a long time. There's been a lot of updates since I was there properly last time.
An awful lot of updates since we were lost in that.
I've been doing a bit of surfing around and finding the general idea, and a lot of the recent reviews on Steam are quite negative, because apparently they keep breaking things as well as adding new stuff and fixing things. So I think the sort of quality and nearness to release has gone on a sort of plateau in the last year or two.
How do the extendy bits and the swivelly bits work?
The pistons and the rotors.
Those are the words I couldn't remember.
Those are still quite a problem, apparently. I haven't really. I'm so much a problem that I don't personally use them because I'm scared. I tend to build stuff without pistons or rotors at all.
Which is a shame, because I always had some brilliant ideas for ships that used them.
Yeah, there's a lot of clever things you could do with them if they worked as advertised.
I wanted to have a ship which opened up and clicked in and use the merge blocks on
just connectors that come in and out, rather than having to land precisely against a thing. So I built a kind of a high-speed atmospheric fighter jet type thing, not remembering that there is a capped maximum top speed of 100 metres per second in that game.
There is indeed.
And there is no such thing as aerodynamics as well. No. So I mean, you've got this fantastic Concorde style pointy needle jet type thing, and there's no need for that at all, because a shipping container will fly as fast in that game. So I've done all that, and I'm thinking, okay, and I don't remember the cyber dogs being quite so aggressive as previous.
No,
on planetary surfaces. Every sort of 2 or 3 minutes, the miniguns will go off because I built a load of guns around my base because I thought the space pirates drone things would come over and nuke it if I wasn't reasonably defended. But turns out these miniguns carry an enormous amount of energy in the shots, and because of the way the physics system works, these cyber dogs, which look like wolves, they come running in and try and munch on your equipment or yourself if they can see you first. And the large base grade Gatling gun turret things will trigger and activate against them, and they hit them so hard that these dogs will bounce up and over the horizon when
Oh,
they're shot.
wonderful.
And they're firing the whole time at them. It's just...
So you've accidentally used what is apparently anti-ship weaponry.
Yes, there are interior turrets I should probably be using, which is anti-personnel. Yes, anti-spaceship weaponry against something the size of a small wolf. Yeah, which works as you'd imagine.
The RSPCA's outside. They won't have a word.
I know. It's terrible. The trouble is...
You know what's going to happen? One of these days, one of those dogs is going to evolve to fly.
No, I think they're already adapting, because what I've noticed happening is if the dog approaches me with a direct line between the turret, the dog, and say for example a delicate spaceship I'm in the middle of working on, the turret will just hose straight through the ship I'm working on and kill the dog. I mean, they're utterly ruthless at their purpose, but they take no prisoners. And I was like, load of save game. It's just like sawn my ship in half with bullet fire. It's just terrible. There's a lot of quirky problems with that game still.
You need to put a landing pad inside your base.
I should probably move the turrets from a big spike on top of the base to around the outside, but then the ones on the far side are probably going to end up turning and firing through the base. I don't know. I think they don't fire through their own grid, but another spaceship is a different grid, and I don't think they care. So we've had quite a lot of mishaps with the turrets. So now I've decided I need to get into space. Okay. Let's get on with it. I've been stockpiling hydrogen for a very long time, because apparently now there are three sorts of thrusters. Atmospheric thrusters cap out at 5,000 metres or so, as you'd imagine, because they only work in an atmosphere. The ion thrusters, which are the old school thrusters you had when it was only a space game, they still work, but they only work in space. So to get between the two, you need the hydrogen thrusters, which will use large amounts of hydrogen and just blast you straight up. So I'm starting to work on... But then I thought, well, I could just build a rocket to go up there and have a look and come back down again, but that's not good. Go large or go home. So what I'm doing is I'm now building my space station on the ground and carting it up piece at a time in a modular fashion. Remember like the ship we built in the series, where there's just a lot of sections with merge blocks and connectors that you sort of assemble as you build them. I'm going to do something similar. And starting with my initial space platform thing is going to be built on the ground and lifted up one at a time. So I have to design the space station in such a fashion that it can be modularly assembled, and also have to build some kind of reusable tug rocket type of thing that can actually just drag them straight up into orbit
without destroying it using its engines.
Yes. The plumes will damage stuff. It's quite a complicated engineering challenge I've set myself, and I'm quite confident it can be done though. Probably not terribly efficient. It's probably much easier to do it. I don't know. Go just get yourself up there, find an asteroid, and build it all in sight. But no, I think it can be done this way, and that's the way I'm going to do it. But I've encountered something now. I've done a bit of surfing around, and apparently there's this thing called called Clang, Clang, the good Lord Clang referred to, or the God of Clang. Basically, it's a kind of folklore that's come up around the instability of space engine, the continuing instability of space engineers as big engine. Every so often, particularly the rotors and the pistons, but just for no reason at all, things will just start wiggling about and going crazy and tearing themselves apart, and that's put down to the auspices of Clang, who has been displeased. And I think one of the videos, another editing highlight there, one of the videos which you're watching behind this shows me flying up to a hillside, finding a suitable rock to go mine, getting out, drilling for a bit, turning around and realising that my ship is being munched on by cyber dogs, gunning them down a bit, and then going over to have a look at the damage it's done, touching it briefly with the blowtorch and having the entire plane instantaneously take off and sail over the horizon, and then land with a bang, presumably. I don't know, it came down so far away. It's just insane. It's a game with so much promise, and yet it seems not to have substantially gotten better since we were doing it. When was our series? That was at least a year ago.
Year and a half ago.
The game,
more maybe.
I mean, they've done things like they tarted up some of the models. It all looks
the graphics all look good.
Some of the bits when you're welding and stuff, it's all shiny and looks lot nicer and stuff. The planets are the planets. That's all cool.
You're listing the same fundamental bugs as we had when we played, though.
Apparently, they've entirely taken out all the netcode and redone it from scratch, because multiplayer was an absolute no-no. Most of the massively down thumb reviews you'll see are because multiplayer is terrible. The syncing, the scale of it. You try and do anything remotely large. I'm surprised we didn't have a lot more trouble than we did with our series.
Well, we had very, very controlled.
It's quite modest, really, what we were trying. But and I mean, apparently it's now it's fundamentally in beta. They've actually got the word beta on the launch on the splash screen now, so it's still early access and they still are not ready, and it's a shame, because it's a game with so much potential. It is absolutely the game I've been looking for all my life. Build working spaceships, cool stuff, but how much reliability can you forfeit before you give up on the whole thing? I'm soldiering on, but I'm taking a lot of save games, So, and you have to if you don't, and also keep manually renaming all the saves differently, so that you got hundreds of them, because it will just keep overwriting save over save, and after a visit from Clang, the whole delightful thing has torn itself to bits or been cut up by some weirdness. Do you want to start again? How far back do you have to go? That kind of thing just makes me go away from a game and not come back. Rage quit. So yeah, it's promising, but I was expecting it to be further along than it is at present. You have to bring your own imagination to it a lot. I think some of the criticisms, there's nothing to do, there's no guidance. There's a few tutorial missions. It is a sandbox, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, there it is. Still going. I'm chipping away at it, but we'll see how we go with this whole components into orbit and build a space station thing. Once I've done that, or if that becomes impossible, then I'll probably move on. I don't know. So yeah, you're going to do your thing now.
I'm doing my thing now.
Do your thing now.
About a year ago, Games Workshop released a re-release of Lost Patrol, which is there. And I got it thinking, I'm going to get all of the games, because they started releasing lots and lots of individual games. I'm going to get all the individual games, play them, we could talk about them on the show. So a year and a bit later, we finally got around to playing the first one.
We did. We've had a couple of goes at this thing.
We've had many goes at this thing this afternoon, and we feel we may have exhausted the game.
Probably never need to have another go at it again. No.
This is a game where you have Space Marine Scouts, which are the rubbish of the rubbish Space Marines.
They're like trainee proto-space and Space Marines, aren't they?
Versus Gene Stealers, which are basically the alien from Aliens.
Yes.
And you're in the jungle like it's out of Predator.
Yes, there are so many tropes being used here. It's very difficult to pinpoint which copyright violation is the most serious.
Yeah. If there's the Venn diagram of 80s action, this is in the middle.
80s sci-fi action, it's got them all, yes.
So you start, it's got some interesting ideas. And I should say, I never played it originally, so I don't know how much the rules have changed since then.
This is essentially a rework of a very old game they used to do.
Yeah. So it's hex-based with hexed landscape tiles.
Yep.
And you start with this clearing tile in the middle, and you have your 6 dudes on there. And you have to find the drop pod to get away, which is somewhere in the jungle.
Yes.
And interestingly, it works by line of sight.
Kind of a disaster movie ongoing.
Yeah. So you've got your 6 different directions out of your hex-based tile, and then the Gene Stealer player puts down 6 tiles around the edge, and then if you can continue the line of sight through that, will follow out up until you have a what you can currently see.
So each of these tiles has got like wiggly paths on it. And that determines where you can go and how far you can see.
Yeah, you have a straight turns or T-junctions or whatever. Although because its hexes are slightly Y-ish. And you have to basically run through the forest, get to the drop pod and escape before the Gene Stealers munch you.
Sounds simple.
It does, doesn't it? So you were the Gene Stealer player.
I was the Gene Stealer player.
And I was the Scout player for many, many games. And
yeah, we didn't switch ends. We were more trying to work together to work out how either player could win and try and explore the rules a bit, I suppose.
If you say how either player could win, should we just say how
I won every single game.
The Scout player could win at all?
He didn't win at all. Well, I say this is the thing. I'd just mock you for being bad at games and being bad generally, but I just couldn't. I was watching, and towards the last 3 or 4 games, I was more or less trying to help you win, and we still couldn't work out how the Scout wins at all.
The only way the Scout can win in this game, spoiler, is by the Gene Stealer player doing something stupid.
It's quite an asymmetric game and quite unbalanced.
I tried lots and lots of tactics. We have 5 guys. Only 3 of them can be on a hex at the same time, so I can't just bunch up and walk there like you would normal people.
Keep close, yeah.
So I tried having 2 different squads going off and searching.
So 2 and a 3.
Now you have a pile of hexes which you have to get down through exploring. But the interesting thing is
21 of them once the initial ones are placed. So the longest you could possibly draw this game out would be 21. Well, longer, I suppose, if you don't do any exploring.
But the interesting point is that if you get more than 2 moves away from an area, then all of the line of sight there gets despawned.
Yeah, because this jungle is alive and sentient and trying to kill you. So basically,
you never tell.
once you leave an area you've previously explored far away enough, that area becomes unexplored again. And then if you go back, different tiles will be there. It's moving, it's changing.
That's a fascinating board game mechanic.
It's a nice idea.
I love the live line of sight. In some cases, it got a bit confusing. There was this one game where I spread everyone out to see if that would work, and it was a little bit confusing as to whether or not stuff could be seen, and you had to think a bit before you could tell which ones needed to be removed at any one point.
Yeah.
And so you keep. So basically, because you, if you go 2 away from one area, it despawns. If you go back again, you refill it in.
With different tiles, because the whole thing's changed.
Yeah, so you're basically needing to get through your stack of tiles, rinsing through them till you get to the last, and always the last tile on the stack, which is the one you need to get at least one guy to win.
So the drop pod is on a tile. That tile is deliberately placed at the bottom of the stack. It's not shuffled in, so you don't have this random, it could turn up quite soon, or it could... I mean, Thunderstone has something similar, where you're trying to reveal the Thunderstone, and the setup rules for that mean that you deliberately put it in the bottom third of the deck, but at some random place. Yeah. Whereas in this thing, the one you're after is always on the bottom, so you have to explore every single jungle tile at least once before the thing you're after appears.
Yeah, and
hard work.
I think there's some ways I can use to abuse the mechanics to try and rinse through the cards quicker. If you're really lucky and get a nice long stretch of 4 or 5 straights, you could go away 2 moves, come back again, and then you'll respawn whatever's there, which is a good way of just getting rid of a load of cards and putting new cards down.
Yeah.
And one of the times I almost thought I was doing sort of okay was when I was just basically going between 2 spots. So I had guys here, move to over here, that despawns, this spawns, go over here, that despawns, this spawns.
So sort of shuttling backwards and forwards will get through the tiles quite quickly, yeah.
The problem is, the GS have too many advantages.
Yes, so he gets 5 guys, and that's it. And if they're all, I win if I kill them all. He wins if he can find this pod and get at least one bloke to end the turn on it. So, but I get 12 Gene Stealers. And any time any of mine are killed, they just go back in the pool. I don't exhaust those. So, I mean, God knows how you'd get 12 out at once. I think you'd have to have a criminally negligent scout player not killing anything. But so I can basically infinitely spawn in Gene Stealers at 3 per turn. Yeah. And just keep charging them at you. I mean, the first game we got a bit confused and I was spawning them in rather closer than I was supposed to. And so, yeah.
But in hindsight, that didn't make that game too much harder.
It didn't make a lot of difference when we were doing it properly either. I can basically come in at any unknown end of the path, and there are quite a lot of them available. Yeah, and often because they only appear when the scout's gone near them to look.
And the first time we played it with any dead end, but the fact is, all of my guys are always at the end of these paths every time because they
that's
need
how
to
you
be.
Explore. You go to the unknown end of a path, which is where the Gene Stealer's just going to come straight at you.
So I'm getting assaulted every turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can do so many moves or placements per turn, but I was always near enough to charge. It's always near enough to attack. So then my strength in the assault phase, which is where they do the slashy combat, is based on, I get 2 points per Gene Stealer in the tile, and I can have up to 3 in a tile. So why would you ever not have 3 in a tile?
Yeah.
So I always had 3 in a tile, and that meant my score was always 6, which is what you had to roll a dice to try and beat.
Now there's 2 modifiers I could have. 3 modifiers. One is a -1 modifier if I don't have enough people on the square on the hex. Do not split your people up into 5 different people, have them bolt in different directions.
So if a scout's on his own, that's worth -1.
Yeah. The sergeant, because he is the sergeant, gets +1 attack.
And he gives other people +1 if he's there?
No, he gets +1 to the roll. So if he's in the group, get +1. And if the heavy bolter guy has line of sight to that tile but isn't in it,
he can fire into melee.
He can give you a +1.
Which means you can theoretically get a maximum score of 8 if everything is perfectly set up.
But most of the time, you either have a squad which needs a 6 to draw, or you have a squad who needs a 5 to draw or 6 to win.
And then, so whoever wins a combat, the person who loses a model, but I've got an infinite supply, so I'm all right.
Well, you can.
Yeah. Whereas if you get a draw, then you still need to fall back, and the falling back rules are interesting in that you can force the scout player to split up, and if these squads get too far apart, part of the jungle vanishes, and if there's some squad in that jungle, they go too.
Yeah.
Along with the
So you have to keep people close enough together.
So we just kept trying, didn't we? We kept trying different strategies. So you had tried splitting up just to everyone scatter, because we can cover more ground that way. Yeah.
I almost did it.
It did work. That helped. You really we actually saw the pod.
That was the one time we ever saw the way out.
Saw the objective.
Unfortunately, one of the rules is you're allowed to spawn on the way out.
I can spawn on the objective, yes. So why wouldn't you?
So I had one guy who had to get through 3 Gene Stealers.
3 every turn.
And had just ended the turn.
And he's on his own, so he's already got a -1. So he cannot beat 6, which is 3 Gene Stealers.
Yeah, so he was dead. If I got my sergeant there, he would have stood a chance.
Able to draw. It's a mess. It really was. I mean, I just started to feel really more and more sorry for the the scout player, the Space Marine player. It just, I mean, we were just working through it and looking through it, and I don't know, maybe experts can tell us otherwise, but it looked to me like the only way that the Space Marine player can consistently win is through just accidental negligence on the Gene Stealer's part.
It really is.
Gene Stealer player has to start actually making mistakes or doing stupid stuff. Otherwise, the Marine's not going to get through. And it just seemed really, really badly balanced. And, I was glad to see when we were trying to search desperately online for winning strategies that there weren't any, and everyone seemed to agree it was really broken. We tried a game where you substituted Terminators.
Yeah, in White Dwarf, they published some rules for doing Terminators.
So Terminators, if you don't know Games Workshop, are basically walking power armour, much more powerful than the little sort of combat marine guys you get with the default game. Did it help?
No.
Massive exosuits.
Well, it helped a bit because I took a flamethrower because I figured flamethrower was good. They gave me a choice of an autocannon, a flamethrower, or a missile launcher.
That allowed you to hold your own until the flamethrower guy died, and then I killed you all.
So that worked perfectly until only 2 Terminators can be on the same tile at any one time.
Oh yeah.
And so the 3 other Terminators who weren't protected by the flamethrower,
they all got picked off.
Died.
Yeah,
and especially the one who had to be on his own because he smelt or something.
Because I was always using 3 Gene Stealers at a time, which meant that you had to roll a 6 to have any chance of winning.
No, because there was bonuses for having Terminators, so there was more of a chance for me to win combat. So I won a lot more combat.
It killed a lot more of my Gene Stealers.
It didn't help. No, it didn't help at all.
Because I can keep putting them on forever. Yeah. Is it unexpected? Is it just not realistic to expect the Space Marine player to win? Is it more like a game of solitaire? The idea is to get a high score. How many turns can you survive? Is that the objective rather than trying to actually win?
You can very much play this game solo.
It's probably... I think you might stand a chance of winning if there are no Gene Stealers at all, yeah.
Well, no, if the Gene Stealers follow such easy AI...
Yes. Oh, yeah, you could absolutely have just a simple chart of what to do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was. I mean, I found myself getting a bit bored towards the end. I was winning again and again and again, but not really because of anything I'd done. I just followed the obvious, the obvious thing: keep them in threes, keep killing Marines.
Have Gene Stealers, move Gene Stealers towards enemy.
Yeah, and walk towards enemy, kill enemy, repeat. Yeah,
you will lose some people, but
you got an unlimited number of people, so it's fine. I also had the ability to infest tiles, which would put egg sacs on the tile, and that then lets me respawn or deploy troops to that tile.
Now,
I didn't use that once.
I know why that rule exists.
Didn't use it at all
because the pieces in this game come from the actual kits for the Gene Stealers and the Scouts.
Is that what this is? Is this game exists purely to put something behind selling some sprues?
Possibly, but they're redone in a different plastic. So I don't know.
Well, they got the moulds.
Yeah, so using the moulds, but there's a specific one. So it's not getting rid of old stock. But this is the start of something which GW did, which was to start selling minis at a discount in a box, in a boxed game, where people will be buying it, and you don't see people talk about the games.
Yeah, so putting my hugely cynical hat on, I suppose I'd have to think that
the reason why the infestations are in the game is because those sprues had these bits.
I didn't need to move my spawn point closer to you at any point because I was always within striking distance within 1 or 2 tiles. So don't know what those are about. Yeah. If I was cynical, I'd say this was just a way for them to flog overstock of models, just cobble together some half-assed rules to put together a whole bunch of miniatures and ship it out, and presumably players could look at the rules and go, yeah, right, whatever, and then because we're just looking for a cheap deal on some minis, but we were talking, and you reckon the Scouts and the individual Gene Stealers are not that great as not great as artistic models intrinsically of themselves for an interesting piece to paint and assemble, and not that interesting in terms of army lists either, because the
Scouts are rubbish on every level.
You wouldn't include Scouts in a 40k army anyway.
You would for some reason.
Do they get some special ability? Or?
But the Scout models just aren't that great.
Yeah.
And the Stealer models are okay, but they're currently unplayable in 40k at any sensible level.
Go with more
because they get shot before they get into combat.
Well, they're designed as a screen for your more horrible monsters that have actual abilities.
There's better things in the
Tyranid
Codex for that. You just use the cheaper stuff.
So we don't really understand why Lost Patrol exists at all.
I sort of do, which is it's a putting the toe in the water to see if people would buy a standalone board game. And they've done a lot since then, so I think that it paid off on that account.
Yeah,
but
we looked it up on Board Game Geek, didn't we? What did they give it?
It was 6.5
out of 10.
Something like
that. It seems fair.
Yeah,
I'd give it lower, to be honest. It just,
I don't know.
The rules haven't really been thought out.
I was thinking about giving it lower, but I quite like the tiles.
Yeah, it's a good quality card stock for the tiles. The models are interesting enough.
You can have an interesting different rule set and make a game using those tiles.
But it just doesn't really hang together as a standalone product.
And I never understood why it gives you 3 dice.
They're cheap. Maybe they come in batches too.
At most, the most dice you have to roll at once is twice.
They're just standard 6-sided dice with spots on. They're nothing special.
In fact, they're the green ones that were the ones we got hundreds for the orcs. So by the time I got the 3 out onto the table, we had more of them than would have been there.
So would you recommend this?
No.
No, I don't think so either. What would you recommend instead if you wanted to either get into Games Workshop or just have a good tactical tabletop minis game?
I would recommend Space Hulk because the minis are so much
the original
nicer.
Space Hulk's pretty good. Does that that stands up rules wise? It's a good balanced.
We'll get to that one in a bit.
Okay.
Do you remember that last game we played, Space Hulk?
No.
Do you remember the game
where you blanked it out?
Where you were deliberately not trying to win?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you in the unusual event of.
Oh yes, I do that. Yes, it's because I'm a QA engineer. I tend to gravitate towards edge cases, which tends to screw the entertainment for everyone else playing. Do apologise.
Yeah, but the problem.
That time I broke Ticket to Ride. That was amazing. I caught it in a recursive loop. It was fantastic.
I think Space Hulk is currently out of print actually.
Okay.
And I think most things are. There's the
Do
problem.
they do a sort of small scale Necromunda type small thing?
Yes, they just launched it as a box which sold out in seconds.
Okay.
Literally in seconds. And then they said they're not going to reprint anymore. But
you know what this needs? You know what this needs? 2 teams of scouts, and the Steelers are an AI thing with just a table chart.
Yeah.
And you have to competitively reach the pod before the other team back, and then really scale the Steelers back a bit, and I think you'd have a good game there.
Yeah. I reckon there was a good game in there.
Yeah, but as stands, no, don't bother.
No, rubbish.
Yeah, okay.
Can't wait for the next one.
Me too. Hopefully I'm the broken and completely overpowered team again next time too. That'd be good. I'm going to talk about Portal Knights. Do you know what this is?
That's what happens when you're playing Portal in the dark.
No. It's Knights with a K. It's I was gifted this by a listener of the show.
Okay. Very kind.
And I thought thank you. I thought I'd have a go and see what it was all about. And basically it's a kind of it's a pseudo survival sandbox Minecraft-alike type of thing. 3D world with blocks everywhere, brightly coloured. It has a class structure. You pick either fighter, ranger, or mage, and then there's various little stat sheet in there that goes up as you level. You get XP by killing monsters and stuff. The combat's a bit more involved than most of these sorts of survival sandboxes, which is all just flail at it and hope you kill them.
Yeah.
This has got target lock-ons and abilities and cooldowns and things and equipment, little various different sorts of armour and so on. You can build little houses out of the materials you dig up from the landscape. And I was thinking Terraria.
Okay.
Much more Terraria than Minecraft, this thing, but Terraria in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
You can build various workbenches, and then the workbenches can be upgraded to more advanced workbenches if you find the right materials, which are, progression locked on how far into the landscapes you've got. This world has been scattered and split apart onto various different floating islands, and you need to find the portals on each island to open them up and connect them to the next islands along, and then you can travel between them whenever you like after that. And each progressive landscape has different biomes, of course, and various different sorts of monsters who get higher level and more difficult to fight as you go up. But you equip yourself with better gear through the various sorts of crafting benches, and you can upgrade those or create those crafting benches with the materials you find on each island. So there's a little bit of a crafting economy and ecosystem there. It's got all sorts of procedurally generated dungeons in there. I mean, to be honest, within 2 or 3 hours I was starting to see repeated patterns there, though.
Well, you always are, because a good
little spiral staircase,
a
couple of chambers on the bottom and a chest in the end with some stuff in, power-ups, potions and so on. It's quite serviceable. It's quite a light Lego-y style sort of aesthetic to it. It's quite I say child friendly, but here I am, a 41-year-old man who's desperately in love with Minecraft. So I think that's all in the eye of the beholder, really. But it is very kid friendly. It's got lots of little NPCs standing around with simple quests. Go and kill somebody of this thing, and I'll give you some XP or some money and whatever. I haven't worked out what the money's for yet. I haven't found any shopkeepers. Well, I don't know. You get cash and XP for killing creatures. I don't know where the money is used. Probably haven't got far enough into it. For every sort of 10 or so worlds in, you'll come across some boss world, which presumably is some much more designed dungeon type of landscape with proper fights and a real boss. I haven't actually got to one of those yet. I got too sidetracked with all the growing different sorts of crops and things. It's quite interesting. It's fairly shallow though, I will say.
Yeah.
It's an early access game, which ordinarily I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have gone for it on my own behalf. But as a Steam gift, I thought, all right, have a look. It seems solid, very solid for an early access. I could see it needing more content, certainly a bit more to do, a bit more in depth and variety to it all. But certainly the basics of scampering around these islands with your little cosmetic pet following you along and shooting stuff with a bow or whatever, crafting out the materials and building your little house with all the decorations in. It's all right. I just I don't know. I'm sort of getting a bit bored of it, to be honest, because I think it's the same as, vanilla Terraria or vanilla Minecraft. I don't think I could ever play vanilla Minecraft anymore after having played some of these insane mod packs where a mod pack. So, 140 mods all built into a chain of progressive machinery and systems becomes about the systems. It becomes a game of process, the incredible machine, connecting things together, automation. That's become the game of Minecraft for me now. And I think just the basic wandering around Minecraft, looking at sheep and hitting cactuses, fighting off zombies every night, I just find a bit passé now, really. I think I've probably done enough of that. And this is very much a Me Too sort of game. The execution's very well done. It's very nice. Very, very solid and polished, but I just don't see it really taking off and cutting massive inroads into the established sort of player base of Minecraft and indeed many other Minecraft likes that have come along since. So, not really sure what to make of it. I mean, I can see myself chipping away at it a bit more just to see if it goes any further, but on the whole, it seems nice. It's a nice game.
Well, it's the early access thing, isn't it?
Well,
when are they adding the next thing?
I don't know. I mean, perhaps they've got vast plans to add loads more stuff to it, but at the moment it seems functionally feature complete in the same way that Terraria currently is. Terraria is a 2D side-scrolling thing with the little blocks, but essentially is a game of digging up the landscape and finding interesting materials and using some of them to enhance your abilities and others to make better and more aesthetic houses and things. And that's essentially the core gameplay to this. It does pretty much everything the same sort of way. I mean, you've got the three-dimensional aspect and it's all on different worlds rather than one long side-scrolling variation of biomes, but fundamentally quite similar. So I don't know. Not sure what to make of it, really. It's nice, but... yeah, there you go. It's hard to find anything bad to say about it. It doesn't. It's not broken. It doesn't do anything bad, wrong. It's not. It's not. I suppose. Yeah, I suppose if anything was wrong with it, it's that you sort of start to see pretty much all there is to see very quickly. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, Portal Knights. You can find it by looking in Google or on Steam or whatever. Interesting. I don't see it being a static night group thing. I can't really see me deciding to host a custom server or anything. I think you can invite up to like 3 other players to come and join you on your little adventures, but I don't think it's really meant as a massive, huge community mod system and massive hosted servers and stuff. It's much more of a small self-contained thing, I think. So there we go. Have you got anything else to talk about?
No.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Guns of Icarus, because we're still playing that. We had a pretty good session on Friday.
So is that holding up with the promise?
So far, although I can start to see the repetition of it all. I mean, the basic the fun of it is in the interactions between you and your crew, isn't it? You bring your own friends, and it's a nice enough sports venue. There's like a bowling alley or an ice rink or whatever. But it's essentially the fun you have with your friends. And could we be having that fun elsewhere? I mean, Guns of Icarus is uniquely designed in a way few other games are to actually require and reward interdisciplinary teamwork. And I'm not just talking about, we need a tank, we need a DPS, that kind of nonsense that's pervaded MMOs all along. This one literally is, you need one person to drive the boat, one person to keep it going with the repairs, and someone else to be firing the guns, and indeed a sort of dynamic interchanging. At one point I found myself parking the boat and going off and manning a gun as well myself, so which can help depending on the situation, So we've been working for the Fjord Baronies faction in this sort of weird risk map thing they've added to Guns of Icarus Alliance, and they didn't win. No, the Mercantile Guild, or whatever that faction, the yellow team won.
Did they outspend you?
There was there's some sort of arbitrary resource gathering thing going on the risk map, and they did their thing before we all did our things. And so at that point, it went from a 4-way fight on a risk map to a 2-way fight for some arbitrary reasons. The two teams ended up allied with each other. So we got allied with the blue team and are now fighting the yellow team and the green team. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I was stressing out on Friday trying to understand and work out what was going on. All the rest of the guys were going, let's just go, let's play. I thought, oh yeah, okay, and I give up. They all had the right idea. Don't care at all about the faction map anymore because it's I barely understand it, and the bits of it I do understand seem to matter not a squat at all to our own gameplay. I think the only real signifier in there is that if you, depending on who you're attacking on the risk map thing, which area you've deployed to, it determines which faction of enemy ships you face in your PvE maps. We were facing the mercantile people for the first time this time, and their big gimmick is a laser. They got this, their boss ship comes in, and it's got this enormous charge-up beam laser thing on the front. It makes this horrific charge-up noise, and it reminded me somewhat of Sovereign from the Mass Effect games at the start. Yes, so it was absolutely terrifying the first couple of times it hit the ship because it obviously it sets fire to stuff. It's a massive heat ray beam, and it's this enormous column of blinding light comes through the ship, and everything goes on fire, and there's big noises and panic and screaming, and a couple of people just running off the edge of the ship and falling to their deaths in panic. I wasn't one of them because I'm attached to the helm with nerves of steel, but yes, we dropped a few people over the edge. But like the other boss ships, we've learned that if you can, with the minigun, and if you're accurate enough, you can actually blow the big gun off the front of their ship, which disables it. I mean, it will come back and rebuild, but it buys you enough time to get round behind and take it out. So we were getting pretty good at handling our ship. We got the Crusader now, new ship. We're one of the faction ships, which I've unlocked by getting to rank 7 with the Fjord Baronies, a big long red thing with a great enormous long bonnet thing and the balloons underneath. And it's got 2 heavy guns on the front and 2 light guns on each side, so quite good. Bit of a front arc broadsider there. I'm getting the hang of steering it through narrow canyons. Back, left hand down a bit, crunch, scrape, all that. Yes, I'm a confident pilot. That's the thing. Yes, we're still going in there. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. We tried a night map. It's one of the latest things they've added. Yeah, well, a night map is actually a solar eclipse, a big sort of moon across the sun. Apparently, this was something they kept. I was reading through some of the dev notes for this, and apparently they came up with these night maps by accident. They were doing some tweaking with the engine and accidentally made everything go completely dark and put a massive sort of burned out halo over the sun. So they thought, that's cool. Let's ship that. Yeah. So
they're my best features.
That's in the rotation now, so that's quite cool. Yeah, a bit of variety. I mean, we tried the infiltration one. We're still having trouble with that, which essentially is you are the VIP ship and you have to go around the map, sitting at particular waypoints to drop off an infiltration team, and then they spend 2 minutes doing their thing while you hold position, then move to other maps. Yeah. That's quite tricky because on a single map, I got a feeling that was initially designed as a 2-player team map, 2 ships, but they've added it to the single player map roster. And basically, if you do it in that map fashion, you are the VIP ship, so you have to defend yourself. It's like an escort mission where you are your own escortee.
Sounds terrible.
But I don't know if the map's tuned right for one ship because we just get absolutely hosed on those. The other sorts of format we're getting the hang of though and doing well. I'm wondering, I'm hoping they've got quite a few more format ideas up their sleeve or some new maps or whatever, because the problem with PvE content as opposed to PvP content, PvP people who love PvP will just go round and round doing the same thing over and over, because the nuance and the intricacy is in knowing your opponent and how the interaction between you and a thinking opponent works. A lot of people love that stuff. Not my thing, but there's certainly nothing wrong with it. But with PvE, you've got AI opponents who are typically very simple, often on purpose, because if you let an AI opponent have go do as well as it can, it tends to insta kill people and go for the throat very, very easily. It makes the maps fairly repetitive. We're starting to get into the routine, and you will get through PvE content much quicker than PvP content. So by having a PvE mode, essentially the whole Guns of Icarus Alliance bit, which is the PvE stuff, they've really sort of made a rod for their own backs in terms of a commitment schedule of content development now, and I don't know if they can keep up with it or not. I don't know. The game, I don't know if you'd call it healthy. I mean, in the bottom corner of the lobby, it shows you how many people are playing. I think it's about 200 at prime time Friday, 200 people playing. It's not hugely popular. But then I was surprised. I was looking at Steam's top 100 user concurrency game lists, and obviously you got like things like Dota and Counter-Strike and up in the tens and hundreds of thousands, but that list of 100 trails off really quickly down to sort of several thousand people playing your game of choice at a time ever. And these aren't even sort of co-op multiplayer stuff. This is just people, stuff like Portal 2 or whatever, they'll be down there with a couple of thousand, and old and busted, not new hotness and stuff, but what is a viable player population for these games? I don't know. I mean, there's about sort of 8,000 people signed on with the faction that we're on. So you could, on average, multiply that by 4 to get an overall number of people who've ever played Alliance. And current concurrency is about 200. I don't know if it's going to remain hugely popular for very long, and particularly with the repetitive nature of the PvE, unless they keep cranking out new stuff all the time. I got a feeling it's going to drop back into its pre-Alliance obscurity.
Is there not enough room for self-expression in these matches?
Not really, no. There are no. You know how it's going to go. The maps are relatively small. I mean, we were all hoping for an MMO-like open world with airships, but that isn't what Alliance is, and I don't know if they're planning on doing such a thing. Probably not. No one does MMOs anymore. But I don't know. I don't know if what they've done with Alliance is enough to keep it going. There'll be diehards. Every game has its diehards who never leave. Look at me in Guild Wars 1. But I think it's going to drop off to a point, because the real problem with Guns of Icarus is the original bit, which was a PvP only battleground game, was that the queue just stopped popping because it dropped below a certain player density threshold, and people just sat there forever, can't get a match, I'm not playing this anymore. They go away, it sort of exacerbates itself, and eventually game is dead. I could see that happening again to the thing with the PvE a bit. I don't know, I mean, the way we play it, we just turn up with our own people, and we'll play a match just with our friends, and presumably as long as the game was running at all, we can do that whenever we like. But if people are going in there looking for pickup groups, which is a pretty widely used way to do these lobby games, so you've got to, it just depends on there being 8 other people wanting to play at the same time as you, and if that can't be guaranteed, you start getting troubles.
Yeah.
Your game essentially, people, dead game, lol. You start seeing all those reviews turning up on Steam or wherever, and yeah, with some reason. So yeah, I'm enjoying it while it's there. That's one of the reasons, I suppose, that I did a rather uncharacteristic jumping straight on rather than waiting for a while. Because with that kind of game population density thing, you've got to be in at the start or you're going to miss it, particularly if it tails off very quickly. You'll think, I'll wait 3 months for this, and then 3 months in, no one's playing it at all, and it's a game where you need other players to get the most out of it. But we're enjoying it while it's there, still playing, so it's good. So yeah, lots going on. I'm just dabbling with all sorts of stuff. I haven't talked about Remember Me. I haven't talked about Star Trek Online. I'm going to save those for another time. But so I'm playing lots and lots of different things at the moment. Just it's that all try a bit of everything and see what sticks phase that I often go through. I imagine there'll be a couple of things that will be, that's the one, and then I'll obsess about them for about 4 or 5 months in a row. But enjoy the variety while it's happening. I'll say.
Guild Wars will return.
I'm still playing that, yeah.
Why?
Because I haven't finished it yet.
You have?
No.
You are done with Guild Wars?
I'm not done with Guild Wars. There's progress bars to be finished. There are 2 progress bars in particular, and I think this week, in fact tomorrow probably, we're going to finish one of them, and then we just need the Eye of the North one, and we're done.
Okay.
Done, finished.
So
I joke about the Warrior playthrough, but to be honest, I'm not sure. I mean, I will have literally exhausted that game of almost everything it has to show, so time probably to move on and leave it then forever after as a fond memory.
Okay.
But nearly there. Anyway, you got anything else to talk about? You better ought to wrap up then.
If you go along to YouTube, you can see this video, or you can see our other videos, like our Sky Factory videos, which are still continuing. Seeds are the future. No, they're not. No, they really aren't.
You're just humouring me, aren't you? Your eggs win everything.
Yeah, they do. You can also go on to howtobettertime.com, where you can find all the previous episodes and the RSS feeds for the podcast, which is handy if you don't want to watch these moving videos. And if you join us next week, we'll be back with more games.
Excellent. See you next time.
Goodbye.